Left of the box. I saw recently there was an article that kind of blew up online. The serfs covered it. I think the majority report touched on it, and I'll show you the article. Lavender, the AI machine directing Israel's bombing spree in Gaza. So I'm not going to go over this very long, detailed article, and I will remember to put it in the description box after I'm done this, so people can read through it on your own time. And I do recommend that you read through it. It's pretty disturbing, talking about how they use AI, artificial intelligence, to target individuals while they're in their homes, as it says right here, usually at night with their whole families were present, rather than during the course of military activity, according to the sources. And this was because what they regarded as intelligence standpoint, it was easier to locate the individuals in their private houses. Additional automated systems, including one called Where's Daddy, also revealed here for the first time, were used specifically to track the targeted individuals and carry out bombings when they had entered their families' residences. So targeting the family of people that they suspect might be part of Hamas. And it's just suspect because, as this article goes into detail about, really the only thing the human does on the other end of it is check to make sure it's male. That the person the AI system is targeting is a man. Other than that, they don't really do anything. They don't bother checking to see if this person has any actual connections to Hamas. The casualties, that the collateral damage that is acceptable for them, for a low-ranking Hamas official, is 20 people, 20 innocent people. And quite often the person they're targeting is innocent because, like I said, they aren't going into detail about that. And this is war crimes. Like it's really bad. It is really, really bad. And, horrific pictures in this article. Like, to have names of the programs like Lavender and Where's Daddy and all this sort of stuff. It's gross. It's all gross. To just kind of brush your hands of it because, it can relieve the conscience of the people who are involved with this. Because after all, it's not them targeting the humans. It's just this system, and they can separate themselves from it a little bit more. It's not real. It's a game. Well, this got me thinking because I actually went to a seminar years and years ago, apparently, because I had to dig up some emails about AI and warfare. And it was the person who was giving this seminar was very much engaged with the threat of this. And this was, like I said, years and years ago, before any of this. Unfortunately, there were no notes to that seminar that I could find because I remember some of the stuff that he was talking about. And it is scary stuff. And it's about how AI can get out of control, how it's given, like, it's incentivized to search people out. It's part of the gaming program to keep it going, to keep it active, to keep it searching. And there are risks at some point that it might just start bypassing human approval or not, because it's like, well, I see this target and I'm going to hit this target, and you can't then tell me that this isn't a target when I've determined it's a target and stuff. And it's pretty scary stuff, just how bad this can get and how easy it makes it for the person pressing the button, because the people on the other end of this drone attack, they never see them. Not a picture, nothing. They're just dots on a screen, if that. Was it in this article? Or is it going to be in the article I'm about to show you guys? Where it's showing people and it actually has like the word object around them. And that's all this is. It's object, it's a game. It's not real. It's so detached from humanity, what they're doing. And there was this article I found a little while ago that I was thinking of showing everyone, but it's also a very long article. But given light of this article from the 972, this seems a little bit more relevant now. And this article is from The Breach, and it's about Well, let's get into it. So The Breach is a good independent progressive journalist magazine here in Canada. It's still fairly new, so I recommend that you go and support it as much as you can. So as you can see, this article was from December 6th, but it goes back in time because it's talking about Stephen Harper. Now, Stephen Harper used to be Prime Minister of this country. And so Stephen Harper's firm pours $350 million into developing military tech for Israel. Canadian money helped develop high-tech tools like behavior recognition, then used in Israel. 11 days after Hamas attacked Israel in October, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper's current business partner, Yaron. Okay. My regular disclaimer, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of names. Most of the names, unless I'm very familiar with them. I don't know how to say this person's last name. I'm going to try to remember to say Yaron, but quite often I'll just stumble over names. Please forgive me with that. I'm horrible with this part of it. I hate sight reading in general, and I cover a lot of news articles, which kind of sucks for me, but what it comes down to is I don't know which videos are safe to show online without getting a strike, so it seems easier just to go straight to the news articles. Anyway, so Stephen Harper's current business partner, Yaron, wrote an op-ed about how their company would help the country stop the evil terrorists in their tracks. Their venture capital fund, AWZ Ventures, was well positioned for years. The company has poured investments totaling at least $350 million into high-tech companies that support the Israeli security industry. Harper is a leading partner at the firm and president of its advisory committee. The former prime minister, who was a hardline supporter of Israel while in office, has promoted the company in Israeli media outlets and has said that the AWZ Ventures is a chance to continue what I did in government. I have lots of criticism about Justin Trudeau. Most people who watch my channel know. And we'll get more into some of the things that he has said. Actually, some good and bad things. And right now, he's been very soft on Israel. We're still supplying weapons. Future contracts, well, that is in question, but the current ones are still going through with all the weapons that we're sending them. And the Canadian government is helping to fund it. So a lot of people are saying, well, we don't want to support Justin Trudeau. And I understand that. I really do. But I cannot stress enough how much worse the Conservatives are. This is Stephen Harper, former Conservative Prime Minister of Canada, continuing, he says, continue what I did in the government. Only this time it's personally benefiting him. He's making money from this. Personally. He just has a dark, dark soul to be benefiting off of the horrors that are happening in Gaza right now. And this article is actually, it's quite dark, a lot of the things that they're covering in here. So in 2021, AWZ launched a startup accelerator in Tel Aviv that partners with the Israeli Ministry of Defense Research and Development Wing and other Israeli agencies, including intelligence agency Mossad, security agency Shin Bet, and the Israel Defense Force, IDF, Elite Cyber Intelligence Unit. That partnership has never before been reported in the Canadian media. I wonder why that is. Yeah, mainstream media, really, we're going to touch on a couple things that they're doing. It's really bad how they tend to ignore certain stories or don't look into certain things. The breach can also reveal new details about 3 companies funded by AWZ that are helping Israel's post-October 7th actions, as well as 6 more that have done business with Israeli governments in recent years. My involvement in the business is to look for profitable opportunities, but we're doing this in the context of promoting the same values I had when I was Prime Minister, Harper said about the fund in 2019. We're not interested in values of a surveillance state. I don't understand what they mean by that, because he's definitely interested in the values of the surveillance state. That's what he's making money off of. But yeah, just think if Stephen Harper was in power right now, everything that I'm about to read is what he would want our government to be a lot more active in. This is what he believes. I can't stress enough how much worse the conservatives are when it comes to what's happening over there. But companies the fund is invested in produce a range of sophisticated spy tools and other cutting-edge technologies like facial and behavioral recognition software. One of the companies sells an artificial intelligence AI program used in a dozen Israeli municipalities that deploys surveillance footage to identify people gathering, throwing stones, or wearing hoodies. Well, Yaron, a founder of the managing partner of AWZ, says these technologies help the righteous side of the world. Critics say they allow investors to profit off Israel's repression of Palestinians and its illegal occupation of Palestinian lands. So I just want to backtrack to this paragraph here. The artificial intelligence program used in a dozen Israeli municipalities that deploy surveillance footage to identify people gathering, throwing stones, or wearing hoodies. You see, if we go back to the Lavender, the other article from 972, we have this paragraph here. Lavender learns to identify characteristics of known Hamas and PIJ operatives whose information was fed to the machine as training data, and then to locate the same characteristics, also called features, among the general population, the sources explained. An individual found to have several different incriminating features will reach a high rating and thus automatically becomes a potential target for assassination. You mean people that might go to gatherings, who might throw stones, who might be wearing hoodies? Again, former Canadian Prime Minister is involved with this. So Anthony, the author of the Palestinian Laboratory, How Israel Exports Technology of Occupation Around the World, has documented how such companies in Israel are at the forefront of testing new weapons and then exporting them around the world. Canadians should be outraged. I am. Do not want this country to have any involvement in this. Like, just none. Our media isn't doing their job if the general population doesn't know that this is happening. So Canadians should be outraged, said Simon Black, an organizer with the Labour Against the Arms Trade. Canadian capital is complicit in Israeli apartheid and occupation. AWZ companies have long done business with Israeli security agencies. The breach identified 6 AWZ companies with relation to the Israeli state, including one that has sold software to the Ministry of Defense. Octopus Systems, because again, they just like their cutesy little names, Octopus, Lavender, Where's Daddy? Like, it's not a James Bond novel. Like, seriously. Also, there's some symbolism around that could be a little sus. Anyway, so Octopus Systems, a software company, received $5.25 million in funding from AWZ. Yaron has said that the platform, which can integrate multiple technologies, including facial recognition, is used by security and intelligence agencies in Israel. Octopus's website says the Ministry of Defense uses its platform to manage the multimedia at the Central Command. In May 2023, another company called Elsight, which was founded by AWZ, announced that it would sell drone communications technologies to the Israeli police to be used by Border Patrol and SWAT units. The company said it also expected details with the Ministry of National Security, the National Prison Authority, the National Fire and Rescue Authority, and Police Special Forces. Behavioral recognition software made by an AWZ company called Visites is also in use in 12 Israeli cities, including Jerusalem. This technology uses surveillance camera to identify real-time fights, people gathering in crowds or throwing objects, unattended bags, as well as people wearing hoodies. Ooh, so sketchy, that behavior, wearing hoodies. Israel's Ministry of Public Security has helped market Visite's futuristic technology to municipalities. The most successful ventures that AWZ has invested in the cybersecurity company Pantera, which was valued at $1 billion in 2022. It was founded by a former head of the IDF's cyber warfare group, and its product is used at 10 government departments, according to the Israeli media outlet Israel. That media outlet right there. So yes, AWZ hasn't responded to the breach about the questions that they sent, and publicly available Canadian security information does not disclose how much Harper has been financially compensated for his role in AWZ. Given the numbers being thrown around, I'm suspecting it's more than a lot. He's making bank right now. To be making money off of the atrocities happening in Gaza, it is so sickening. And this is where it starts getting even more dark. Occupied territories testing ground for repressive tech. Known as Startup Nation, Israel has major tech industry that is closely connected to a sophisticated and well-funded military. I see it as a way to monetize the occupation. The author of the Palestine Laboratory told The Breach in an interview. The author's book explores how Israel occupation has become an incredibly effective testing ground for a huge amount of tech and repressive technology, whether it's drones, spyware, or facial recognition technology, biometric tools, whatever it may be. He noted that the military encourages its members to develop technologies once they leave the service. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, more technology startups in Israel, and there's a pipeline that Israel has encouraged its military members to develop. By doing that, they maintain a close relationship with the people once they've left, he said. So many of those companies are really only private in name. In reality, they're actually an arm of the state. In an interview with the Israeli business Daily Globes in 2019, Harper described the opportunities AWZ Ventures could build on. I don't think that Israel really knows the global potential of its technology sector, and this is one of our goals, he said. I'm not here in order to give Israel advice, but there are very few important international Israeli technology companies. Though through AWZ, we therefore want to build an important global Israeli technology fund that will, in time, lead to a wider range of commercial results for technology companies. And I forget where it is in this article. I hope I didn't accidentally skip over it, where it says that, when Harper moved over into this, he actually brought over a lot of people that were working in the government, the Canadian government. He brought over a lot of his buddies that have inside information about our government. Not that they're sharing it. I doubt that they're sharing that sensitive, secret information. But again, this is the type of people we have in our government right now. And it is kind of horrifying. The author argued the Israeli bombardment of Gaza, which has killed, it's now probably close to 40,000. This, again, was just in the early December when this article was released, has allowed the military to test weapons for an audience of international buyers. Wow. This is a testing ground to show an audience all around the world how good their technology is. Because they're just given free rein to try it out over in the Gaza Strip right now. This is scary. The idea that, I don't know, maybe part of the reason why the governments don't want to, call Israel out and don't want Israel to hold back is that they're testing out their technology, their weapons technology. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to actually give it a try and see what it's capable of and show other nations around the world the quality of the product they be buying. How do people sleep at night when they do this sort of thing? I know, probably quite comfortably. You know, it's easier to sleep, I guess, when you don't have a conscience, when you don't have empathy, when you don't have a soul. But to be taking advantage of what's happening in Gaza to show an audience of international buyers what your weapons are capable of, it's, yeah, pretty horrific. They're putting that on social media, which is not just for domestic and international public audiences, it's also for foreign investors, the author said. He said Israel defense companies are looking to maximize and make profits from Israel's war against Gaza. What Israel has been doing in the last month is live testing these tools on a scale that they never have before. A recent investigation by the Israeli publication 972 has linked the large number of civilian deaths in Gaza to the Israeli army's increasing use of AI to develop targets lists. This has led to a much larger bombing campaigns than was previously possible, and a large number of strikes on residential addresses. This isn't the article that has recently made the news. There is a second article, because remember, this article from The Breach came out in December. It links to this article from 972. A mass assassination factory inside Israel's calculated bombing of Gaza. Permissive airstrikes on non-military targets and the use of an artificial intelligence systems has enabled the Israeli army to carry out its deadliest war in Gaza, 972 and local call investigation reveals. I'll also remember to link this in the description box below so that you can read it. It's another very long and detailed article, and it's by the same person, I believe, who did this article. Let's scooch up to the top. Yes, same person. So this one is from November 30th of 2023, and the one about lavender just came out a few days ago. So it's not like that's the thing. It's not like this is a secret at this point. It's not like it's unknown. It's just the media hasn't been reporting on it. You know, it's always, oh, Israel has the right to defend itself. By using Gaza as a testing ground for artificial intelligence weaponry. The use of AI has let Israel create a mass assassination factory, one former Israeli intelligence officer told 972. The author also said that Israel's defense sector is one of the most secretive in the world, so it would be difficult to determine whether AWZ companies are involved in the killings of Palestinians in Gaza. So I just want to be clear here. There is no proof that Stephen Harper directly benefits from the horrors going on in Gaza right now. There is no actual proof of it. I would say with this type of thing, he needs to come out and say and show that he has no direct involvement, because there's also no evidence that he's not benefiting from it. And normally I don't like these type of conjecture arguments, like, you know, yes, there is no proof that AWZ companies are directly involved with the artificial intelligence that the Israeli government is using right now to wipe out suspected Hamas militants and their families in their homes. There's no direct evidence of that. But this is really suspect. Really, really suspect. And I don't think it's too much to ask if the former Prime Minister of Canada is involved with this. Once a conservative leaves power, it's not like he really leaves the party, unless something horrible happened and there was a big falling out. He still has his connection within the government. He still has his influence within the party. This is the type of person that's potentially in there? Harper, everyone working with me worked with me for years in the government in one way or another. So basically, you know, being prime minister is also kind of recruitment for future arms sales and development. Call me radical. I am. I don't think government officials, once they leave office, should be allowed to get jobs like this. It looks poor on his party. It looks poor on Canada. It is just, where is the outrage from Canadians about this? Right, they don't know because mainstream media doesn't actually report on the nuance on these things. All they report on is October 7th. That's all they report on. As Prime Minister between 2006 and 2015, Harper sought to closer relationships with Israel, becoming one of Israel's most stalwart supporters. Under Harper's leadership, Canada stopped voting in favor of UN resolutions that condemned Israel's illegal settlements and other practices and cut off aid to the Palestinian Authority when Palestinians elected Hamas in democratic elections in 2006. In 2013, he described Israel as a light of freedom and democracy in what is otherwise a region of darkness. They don't have real democracy over there. A lot of people there can't vote. On a trip in 2014, Harper became the first Canadian Prime Minister to address the Knesset and was given a key. He was given a key, even, to the Israeli parliament. He was welcomed enthusiastically by Israel's right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who threw a welcome ceremony and dined with Harper 3 nights in a row. Yeah, that's a lot of ceremony going on there. Again, I need to stress, like, the biggest point of this is, yes, I am disgusted with Justin Trudeau and everything he's doing. I'd much rather keep Justin Trudeau in power than to have the Conservatives get in power when they have this type of person in their ranks. Like, could you imagine if Harper was in power right now? With all of this that we just know, like, could you imagine with Canada, how much more complicit and enthusiastic Canada would be with what Israel is doing right now? The Conservatives are exponentially worse than the Liberals when it comes to this issue. After leaving office, he kept up relations, making a video for conservative online content generator PragerU praising Israel. Actually, I kind of want to see that. I wasn't thinking of that. If I click there, do I get that? Oh, guess what we're going to be going over after this article? He does have a video, and it's under 6 minutes, so we'll be looking at that in just a little bit. From all the clients and activity that I'm involved in, there may be nothing better than AWZ, Harper said in the Globe interview. Everyone working with me worked with me for years in the government in one way or another. Canadian involvement in AI, weapons technology, yay! The simplest test we use in everything we do is whether it's a type of business that I would have been involved in as Prime Minister and that I would have been willing to make an official announcement about, that I would have wanted to be associated with, and that I would have wanted to see happen. If it's not like one of those, regardless of whether it's bad or illegal or whatever, it's not the kind of business we're looking for, he said. Again, just to give you an indication of how much worse Canada would be right now if Harper was in power. And it's not just Harper. Like, this is the mentality in the Conservative Party. We're going to get into some other Conservatives with what they've said on certain things. This is a problem. This is scary. It really is. Like, it's hard to articulate just how bad this is, that we have a wing of the government that is so enthusiastic about genocide and slaughtering. The Liberals like to stay a little bit more quiet and level-headed about it and might even make concessions to, the good side and say, yeah, ceasefire probably should happen. Which, again, we'll get to Justin Trudeau, who's actually made a semi-decent statement recently. Actually, it was a good statement, not semi-decent. It was a good statement, and we'll get to that. But the conservatives are just so ingrained in them to want to commit this genocide, to help out Israel, to do whatever it takes, because this is Harper basically saying that this is the type of thing he would like to do if he was still prime minister. Harper also said he wanted to create opportunities for Israeli companies to enter North American markets. By the way, I have to say that during my term as prime minister, I encouraged greater military cooperation with Israel, probably for foreign policy reasons, but this built many of these bridges. Harper is not the only high-profile figure to be recruited to the firm. AWZ Ventures advisory boards include several former spy masters, somebody who headed CSIS, someone who led the CIA, and former heads of the British MI5. Wow, and the Israeli Mossad. All the spy agencies. I guess maybe this is a James Bond novel then. That's just like all the spy agencies, although I don't think a single James Bond novel has ever mentioned CSIS. But definitely you got the CIA, the MI5, and Mossad in there. The venture firm has also recruited officials from agencies such as the FBI, the IDF, the Israeli police, a whole bunch of places. Canadian Armed Forces. So tech flags suspicious people in real time. In Yaron's October op-ed in the Jerusalem Post, he wrote that AWZ was leveraging its company's technology to help Israel respond to the Hamas attack. He suggested voice and facial recognition programs were used to identify wounded people in hospitals. Digital intelligence capabilities also helped the state locate kidnapped and missing Israelis and crack down on Hamas, he wrote. Oh, that's so benevolent of them to help locate kidnapped people. That's what this is for. But also, it's like, when you read some of these things after time has gone by, and you see some of the language in here. So he suggested voice and facial recognition programs were used to identify wounded people in hospitals. That just reminds me of, when the IDF went into the hospital and executed some suspected terrorists in their beds in the hospital. But I'm sure there's no connection there. I'm sure of it. What's that word when there's evidence, but it's not like it's not real evidence. It's just a whole bunch of happenstances. There's a word for it that I can't quite think of. If you can think of it in the sandbox, highlight my name so I can look at it, because it's actually really bugging me. I've been trying to think of it for a while now. That it's not speculative evidence, but when you have like happenstances all over the place, then it becomes really suspicious. A post on AW's LinkedIn page, getting fancy with that LinkedIn, identified 3 AWZ companies that were involved in this work. CoreSight AI offered its facial recognition products to hospital for free. Its vice presidents told Forbes families sent in photos of their missing loved ones, and tech companies compared the photos to patients. Circumstantial. Thank you, MIDI doctors. That is the word that I was looking for. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence going on here of possible connections of, former Prime Minister of Canada being involved with the horrific AI technology that has been slaughtering suspected Hamas people and their families. And you really got to emphasize the suspected, because they're not exactly taking the time to prove that they're part of Hamas before they slaughter them. Yeah. The company, which has received USD $5 million from AWZ, claims its technology can identify people even if they're wearing a mask. Great. That's not disconcerting at all, even if they're wearing a mask. So no excuse with COVID and people, masking up to prevent disease. The system will still find you. A spokesperson has also said this technology deployed by police units around the world, including Israel. One of the company's partner firms, Core Sound AI was also mentioned in the LinkedIn post. LinkedIn, that's just so quaint to have LinkedIn included in something this horrific. The company said it can only verify voices, but also use voices to identify the age, ethnicity, and biogender of the speaker and even estimate what they look like. Where has that ever gone wrong before? Actually, I did a story about this sort of thing a while ago with the Edmonton police trying to use DNA and genetics to make a profile of a suspect in a sex assault case. Not surprising, the person they picked was black. And that's pretty much the only thing the DNA profile could tell you. So it just made every black man a suspect, pretty much. I went into detail in a video from a while ago. But, you know, when you have things like this, so much can go wrong because facial recognition is biased. And then do you just, again, rely on the technology like they're doing right now with the IDF, where they're just checking to make sure that they're male, but then rely on the AI to figure out the rest? So many mistakes, so many misidentifications. Like they do this in the States right now too with some sort of facial recognition things where it's totally misidentifying certain people, especially certain people of certain skin tones. And so to target somebody based on AI that could be faulty, because there's no appeal after you've killed the person. You don't then get to go back and say, oops, our bad. This is why Canada doesn't have the death penalty anymore. The reason why the United States shouldn't is because of all the innocent people that end up getting executed. How many innocent people will these systems accidentally identify? Hey, already in Gaza, you have tens of thousands of innocent people, and countless thousands of them were targeted by this AI. Is there any backup proof that these people were responsible for the horrendous attack on October 7th? The third company that AWZ is helping the Israeli efforts is Ultra Information Solutions, which markets open source intelligent tools for use in airports and large public events. Ultra boasts that its technology can identify suspicious people based on their online activity and flag their presence in real time. Its website once claimed the company had insights on every person, company, or event. That could be scary. You know, there's some things that I've searched for my content creating that would make me look very sus. And again, who is determining what is suspicious? You know, what kind of protesters? Am I a radical left-winger that needs to be scrutinized? But I've done some kind of sketchy online searches looking for information for my YouTube shows. I made the joke the other day, not too long ago, when I was looking for a certain video from Judy Gold about the stand-up comedy show that I was joking. It's like, haha, the algorithms probably think I'm a raging Zionist right now. Like, how many people have very legitimate reasons why they might be looking up suspicious based on their online activities? Like, how many of it is actual legitimate research or curiosity or things totally not related to being a terrorist or being a bad person? And again, just this idea here, it's going to sound like a very weird connection, but in Canada, they want people to start putting in their government ID and faces, potentially, possibly, to access porn. Where do you think that information will go? It is... To say we don't have any privacy is putting it mildly. We create the watch list that no one else has, a video the company's YouTube account says. The video shows people flagged for supporting anti-police violence, hooliganism, and anarchy. The company received tens of millions of American dollars from AWZ, its website said. Facial recognition's in the hand of every soldier. What could go wrong there? While identifying wounded people in hospitals is a benevolent use of facial and voice recognition technology, human rights groups have raised the alarm about Israel's other uses for the program. In May 2023, a report by Amnesty International titled Automated Apartheid, How Facial Recognition Fragments, Segregates, and Controls Palestinians in the Occupied Palestinian Territories focused on Israel's use of facial recognition technology. Israel is using these tools to entrench their system of oppression and domination over Palestinians, the report said. The country's use of the technology has expanded in recent years with city-wide networks of cameras in East Jerusalem and elsewhere. So the thing is that everything that has been happening has just kind of come together to what we're seeing now. The Lavender program, the Where's Daddy program, all of this has been leading up to that. And again, former Canadian Prime Minister. No proof that his company is involved directly. So I can't say he's involved directly. There's also no proof that he isn't, and there's very lot of circumstantial evidence going on. Because again, this article was released a while before the new article, the Lavender article. And I don't have the journalistic know-how or the capability or the resources to dig in deeper to find out if there is a direct connection. And I hope that maybe the Breach will look into this because they have far more resources than I do for this sort of thing. Amnesty International documented that young Palestinian activists have said Israel soldiers at checkpoints scan their face with their phones, and suddenly their behavior towards us changes because they see all the information. It's in the hands of every soldier in their mobile phones. Like, just imagine, this technology won't stay in the hands of the Israeli soldiers. Imagine the American police forces with this in their hands. Every time they pull somebody over, they use their phone to do a quick scan of their face to see if they're, accused of anything else or if they've had any other violations or, a way to prejudge how they should act towards this person. Like they weren't doing that enough already. But just think, suddenly, oh, well, this was just a person, but now I see that they have a record for this, this, and this. Well, now they're a bad person, and the way that I'm going to treat them, my behavior towards them is drastically going to change depending on this new information as opposed to just, reading the situation for what it is in the moment. The report said Amnesty could not state with certainty which companies provide the technology to Israel. And this is where that picture I was talking about with all these faces and Object 54, Object 394. That's all our faces would become to them, are objects to be cataloged. So a complex web of companies. I don't think I need to go through all of this. It's just talking about the individual companies that AWZ has a complex structure with over a dozen federally registered corporations in Canada and over 30 incorporated in Ontario, with names that suggest a connection to AWZ Ventures. Other companies with the AWZ name are registered in Israel and the United States. So I'll link this below, but it's just saying how much money are going to these different corporations that from AWZ potentially and all that sort of stuff. So Israel's sales to Arab countries ramp up. AWZ and its companies have also benefited from agreements strengthening ties between Israel and Arab countries that was brokered by former U.S. President Donald Trump. Signed in the 2020, the Abraham Accords were an agreement that saw the United Arab Emirates, UAE, and 3 other Arab countries officially recognize Israel, which they had historically refused to do due to the occupation of Palestinian territories. In exchange, these countries were given a greater access to the Israeli defense exports. Think that was the author, pointed out that after the deals were signed, Israel exported a record 12.5 billion in defense goods in 2022, a quarter of which went to countries that signed the accords. Yeah. So many people in the media, so many right-wingers saying, why don't the other Arab countries take in the Palestinians? Because, you know, it's all monolith, apparently. Remember what it said earlier about testing ground? Like Israel was maybe just looking for an excuse to see what these weapons were capable of. And October 7th became a really good excuse for it. What does that practically mean? It means that the Abraham Accords, signed by Trump as the wonderful, glorious acceptance in the Arab world of Israel, was nothing of the sort, he told The Breach. It was an arms deal. In 2021, an AWZ press release mentioned in passing that the company had business development office in UAE. A month later, CBC News published a report raising concerns about the company's potential involvement in selling cyber surveillance technologies to the country, which has a history of human rights abuses. Because again, what could possibly go wrong with a country like the UAE having this level of facial recognition and behavioral scanning modification and all that sort of stuff? Like, what could possibly go wrong? I think, yeah, that's it. Or people should be worried about these kinds of technologies in general in terms of what they mean for our democratic rights to protest and to assemble. Now, there's something I wanted to be able to show everyone. There's this. And I remember this from that seminar that I went to about AI technology in warfare. And this is from a YouTube channel. Well, it's not just a channel. It's called Dust. And they have their own kind of studio. They release short movies. So this is like a movie, but it's just under 8 minutes long. And this was shown at the seminar. However, from what I've looked into, if I were to stream this for all of you so that we could go over it together, they would make one of these little bots here that they're talking about in here called a Slaughterbot. Dust would specifically make one to target me if I were to stream this for all of you right now. So I will remember to link this in the description box below. I gotta remember to start doing that before the live streams. But in it, this is like a hypothetical future of these little robot thingies that can fit in the palm of your hand. If I can find the right frame. There we go. Fit in the palm of your hand. And there's a little detonator in there. And it uses facial recognition to go after people and use it and then blow a hole in the skull. Right there. And that it works in networks of these little flying bots and drones and things. And this hypothetical movie about, you know, this is going to make the world a better place, but then weapons falling into the wrong hands, and this technology gets out of control, and other organizations get it to the point where it then targets students at a university who show political inclinations and how you would fight back. And at the end of it actually is this person here who's giving a serious warning of where this technology can go. So this is a hypothetical future. It's not sci-fi. Like, it's not so out there that it couldn't happen. Not to give people a complete and utter and complete horrible nightmares for the rest of your life. But this is, yeah, I'll link this. Unfortunately, like I said, we can't watch it. But it is it's a scary kind of future, potentially. Let's go to this. So I have not seen this, and I'm not very good at responding to things in the moment, so we'll see how this goes. Because I'm not that good at debunking things in the moment because I like to go over and look through things and whatnot. But so let's see what this PragerU.com has to say.
When I was the Prime Minister of Canada, I was often asked this question: why do you support Israel? My response, in effect, was always the same: why wouldn't I support Israel? Why wouldn't I support a fellow democratic nation where open elections, free speech, and religious tolerance are the everyday norm?
Okay, I can see your problem right there. It's not that democratic. They aren't accepting of other religions there. That's kind of the Zionist thing. Yeah, that's a little off right there, right at the beginning. I can debunk that. That's not right. That's not what Israel is. Not the Zionist state of Israel, anyway.
Why wouldn't I support a country with a vibrant free press and an independent judiciary?
Oh, and they're just about to try to make sure that Al Jazeera can't broadcast there anymore because they don't like the news that Al Jazeera is showing people in Israel.
Why wouldn't I support a valuable trading partner and a wellspring of amazing technological innovation?
Oh, like AI technologies that he might be involved with.
Why wouldn't I support our most critical ally in the Middle East and in the international struggle against terrorism? In a rational world, in a world where simple common sense prevailed, the question, why do you support Israel, would be like asking, why do you support Australia or Canada? But we don't live in that rational common sense world. So the case for Israel has to be made over and over. I, for one, am happy to make it.
So again, people are so unplugged from Canadian politics. Reminder that this, I'm trying to think of what he looks like right here. I see the image from a movie in my head. It's not very flattering. Let's put it that way. The image I see in my head is not very flattering of the character that I'm seeing in my head right now. This was who was running Canada. People tend to, they're so unplugged from Canadian politics that they don't realize that this is the type of person that was running Canada and the damage he did when he was in power. A lot of people don't know how bad it was, and the media hides it. The government hides all of it to the point that it can make Polyev, despite how horrible he's getting, look appealing to the masses because people don't know the behind the scenes or, pay attention to policy whatsoever or what they're saying.
Let me start with this. Every military action Israel has ever taken has been to protect itself.
No, it has not. No. That's a big old no. No.
Israel is not an aggressor state.
It's, cross out that word. Cross out this word, and then you've got it. They are the aggressor state. They're the ones occupying territories in the West Bank and in Gaza. They're the ones doing that. They are the occupiers. The Palestinians aren't the occupiers. It's the Palestinians that were in an open-air prison, which has now been reduced to rubble. Yeah, and that was done by an aggressor state.
It's a defensive state. This has been true from its founding to this day.
No, that's not how it started. It's not. They weren't just defending themselves when they took over that land. Yeah.
As a fledgling nation in 1948, Israel was immediately attacked by its Arab neighbors. Their goal was not to contain the tiny new country. It was to annihilate it. No nation came to Israel's aid. Not the United States, not my country, Canada, not the United Kingdom, no one. They all thought Israel would lose. But
Okay, I will admit, I know very little about how this all started. I'm fairly confident it wasn't like that. Now, I know Canada didn't come to the aid of Jewish people during the Second World War. We were just as bad as the States as denying refugees to come into this country to, escape the death camps and stuff of that sort. I'm pretty sure Canada was A-okay with the formation of Israel, though. The whole settler colonialism thing that Canada is so good at.
it didn't lose. It won. In 1967, Israel's neighbors again sought to utterly destroy the Jewish state, a nation that had then existed for 2 decades. Again, Israel prevailed, and it survived another all-out attack in 1973. Those are the big wars, but I'm not sure there's been a single day in Israel's entire history when some act of terror has not been waged against it, inside or outside its borders. There have been
David Dole shows it all the time on his channel when he's covering this. I don't have it available. When you look at the rate of how many people have been killed or injured, Israeli versus Palestinian. Palestinians throw stones. They do toss bombs every now and then. They're not guided. They're not sophisticated. Israel has the Iron Dome, sophisticated weaponry that Canada, has sold them. So, we can't then claim that they were accidentally targeted, because then that would suggest that the weapons we sold them were defective. So all of the people that they've been targeting has been intentional. These are lies.
2 bloody waves of terror, so-called intifadas, in the late 1980s and the early 2000s, when Israelis were blown up on buses, at pizza parlors, and celebrating weddings. There have been incursions from terror groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon. There have been thousands of rocket attacks from Hamas in the Gaza Strip, even after Israel completely withdrew from that territory in 2005. In between the wars,
Well, we withdrew from the territory we occupied. So you gotta cut us some slack. Come on.
between the terror, Israel has sought peace with its neighbors, and it has achieved peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan. For others, however, every Israeli gesture for peace is met with incitement and violence. I recount this.
That's a lie, because there hasn't been gestures of peace from Israel. So they couldn't have been rejected if they were never on the table.
History for one reason. Any nation that has endured what Israel has endured could easily have become a police state. But through it all,
It is a police state. What are you talking? It is. Palestinians have to go through checkpoints after checkpoint after checkpoint. Like, it is a police state. They have conscription. You have to go into their military. It absolutely is a police state.
Israel has never abandoned its commitment to the rule of law, to democracy, to tolerance. 1/5 of its citizens are Muslim.
No, to tolerance, the democratic country over there that doesn't allow gay unions, that one, they're so tolerant over there, so long as, I'm just trying to think, so long as you're a Zionist and play within all the rules, then they're very tolerant of you. If you're anything other than that, then they're not very tolerant of you, because they crack down on their protesters all the time, the people who are protesting the right-wing government. Yeah. Not everyone there has the same rights as everyone else. It's, yeah.
Muslim. They enjoy the same rights as Jewish citizens.
No, they don't. Also, 1/5, like, how many used to be? Like, what was the percentage before the land was forcefully taken from the Palestinians? I'm just saying.
They occupy key positions in the nation's courts, press, and government. and they have their own parties representing them in the Knesset, Israel's parliament. To say that Muslims in Israel are the freest Muslims in the region is an understatement.
This is really bad. Wow. That's Canadian whitewashing for you right there. That's the maple wash that I tell people about. It's just project. Wow. Wow. No. Muslims in Israel are the freest Muslims in the region. In the non-police state of Israel.
How about this as a human rights test? Prisoners in Israel, be they Jewish or Arab, are well treated, well fed, and have access to the best possible medical care.
Oh, no, they're not. No. There's reports coming out right now that there's regular amputation because the handcuffs are cutting so deeply into the skin and causing infections. And that they keep people like that, like permanently keep people in those horrible conditions. Okay, I've been involved with Amnesty International. I know reports of what the conditions are like in the prisons for Palestinians. They're not being treated humanely. Wow. Like, I get that this video, it's 4 years old, and this report of the amputations is new. But Israel has been imprisoning Palestinians for years and years and years, decades, pretty much since the beginning, without cause. Innocent people in horrific conditions. Assault, sexual assault, torture. Wow. This has been known.
Parents and spouses of these prisoners know where they are and that they are safe. Who else in the region but Israel can make that claim? Through all the wars and all the terror, Israel has survived, and especially in the last 20 years, it has thrived. It's known as Startup Nation, and with good reason. Key components of your cell phone and your laptop were designed in Israel. A drug or a medical device that has saved your life or the life of a loved one may have been developed in Israel.
Oh, remember all those COVID vaccinations that Israelis got, but they didn't give to the Palestinians?
Yet there are leftist politicians, activists, artists, academics, and
It's very right-wing government right now. Very right. Like, you can't brag about your couple leftist people in government when it's overall right-wing and they have no power. And a lot of the leftist protesters and stuff like that get squashed by the non-police state of Israel.
college students who devote their lives to denouncing Israel, calling for boycotts, demanding it be cut off from academic and professional societies.
Yeah, BDS goes over so well in there, I'm sure. People who try to promote BDS in Israel, I'm sure that goes over so well. Because, you know, in Canada and the United States, if you try to promote that, then you lose your job. You get shunned from society. I'm sure it's just as fair over in Israel if you go around trying to, you know, support BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. It's, I'm sure in their non-police state, in their very humanitarian prisons, that they're treated just fine.
Do they denounce the Palestinian leadership that hasn't held an election in well over a decade? Do they denounce the leadership of Hamas, who use women and children as human shields to protect their fighters? No, They denounce free, vibrant, democratic, innovative Israel. With all the brutal and violent
They denounce their occupiers.
regimes, not only in the Middle East, but around the world, how is one to explain singling out Israel for condemnation? Sadly, only one explanation fits: anti-Semitism. Do these haters of Israel question the legitimacy of any other democratic nation, of any nation?
Like, I get it. This video is 4 years old. It hasn't aged well, but even back then, it wasn't well. Like, come on. Even back then, we knew that there's a difference between anti-Semitism and calling out the Israeli government. Those are two different things.
For that matter. Of course, the answer is no. Somehow, they only manage to oppose the Jewish one. The State of Israel has now existed for 70 years. It is one of the freest, most prosperous, most successful nations on earth. Why do I support Israel? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't anyone? I'm Stephen Harper, 22nd Prime Minister of Canada for Prager University.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this video.
No. Don't thank me. Don't, no. Wow. He's a horrible person. Like, just, wow. Oh. That video didn't age well. Nope, not at all.